Let's talk 2024 Honda CBR 650R with the e-clutch. It was just released in September of 2024, and now at the time of recording this video, we are in October. There's only 2 months left of the year, and now we're just seeing this motorcycle in person. And that's just the Honda way of releasing bikes. They usually do things last minute so that the consumers don't become beta testers. You don't test the motorcycle for the manufacturer and have a whole bunch of recalls. Honda has the lowest recall rate for the volume of motorcycles they sell, so it's expected they release motorcycles a little late. The year 2025 is right around the corner, and we don't even know if this motorcycle is gonna have a 2025 model. It probably is going to have one, and it's probably gonna look exactly like this one because this one was just redesigned for this year. And if we know anything about Honda, they sure don't redesign motorcycles every year. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to go wheel to wheel and everything in between on this 2024 model, 0 miles on the odometer, and we're going to see for about $9,900 what you are expecting to get from Honda in 2024. Then we're going to get on it, go out there, test the e-clutch and see. Hopefully it's better than the DCT they have on their 1100 Rebel. And then we're going to see how it rides around town. Then we're going to quantify our thoughts and give this motorcycle the ME score. Let's start by talking about what's under the hood on the CBR 650R e-clutch. And it's something that distinguishes it from the rest of the rivals, from the Ninja 650 from Kawasaki, R7 from Yamaha, RS660 from Aprilia. They all have twin-cylinder engines, 2-cylinder engines. This one's got an inline-4, more similar to a super sport motorcycle than a naked bike. It's a 649cc displacement engine, and it makes about 95 claimed horsepower. I think at the crank, even at the crank, that sounds a lot higher than I would expect this motorcycle to make. I don't think it's that high. If you own an older-ish generation of this motorcycle, leave it in the comment section exactly, if you've dynoed it, exactly what horsepower and torque figure you're getting out of your motorcycle. I couldn't really find anything. On the internet, it's at 95 horsepower and about 46 foot-pounds of torque. But what's interesting here is not the engine itself. That's been here for a long time. What's brand new for this 2024 model is the e-clutch, this whole protrusion that's on the engine, on the gearbox here. And that's not a DCT and it's not a CVT. It's something completely unique. Might be in cars, but on motorcycles, I haven't really seen it anywhere else. And it's the e-clutch system. What it is there are 2 motors here. You see this cylinder and this cylinder. One is upshifting, one is downshifting, and these are hooked to the ECU. So essentially, this is a quick shifter with a brain. So not only do you have a quick shifter on this motorcycle if you choose to use it, you also have this whole system that can think for you. So anytime you turn on the ignition, you start up this motorcycle, this system is engaged. If you choose not to change your own gears, this motorcycle can change it for you, and I've heard it's pretty quick at it. We'll test it out on the road. Coming out of this engine, you have 4 polished pipes beautifully coming out, merging here, joining into this minimalistic looking muffler. I really like this design of muffler over the mailbox that sticks out from the side of the motorcycle, those huge ones. You have no choice but to take them off and put some aftermarket system on. This motorcycle, you don't really have to do that. It looks really nice. When I reviewed the Ninja 650 from Kawasaki, I saw almost the exact same muffler on that motorcycle. Maybe the Kawasaki was even smaller than this one, but this is a really Ducati-esque looking muffler. I really like when they do it this way. But anyways, here is how the 2024 CBR 650R e-clutch sounds. Now, the second biggest thing Honda has changed between this model year and the previous generation, other than the e-clutch, is the design. All around this motorcycle, this completely looks different compared to last year. Everything has changed. The headlights, the side fairings, the gas tanks, the seats, the tail lights are all different. Everything is LED, and it's overall looking more like the Fireblade, the CBR 1000RR Fireblade. It looks a lot more like that with those flattened headlights as opposed to the previous year that curved upwards towards the end of the headlights. I think this is a better design compared to the previous years. Not that the previous years were ugly. I kind of want my Honda to be simple. I don't want it to look Kawasaki-like with all kinds of crazy angles and crazy design. And this is simpler than the previous years. So that's what they've gone with. And it looks consistent with the CBR 600RR and the CBR 1000RR, as I mentioned. Anyways, it looks good. The two black holes that you see up front next to the headlights are not flying buttresses. They actually don't have an air pass through. That air goes one end and comes out the other end for aerodynamics purposes. What's happening there is that those two openings are actually air ducted into the airbox. So that's how the engine breathes through. I'll throw it on the screen. You can kind of track the pipe that goes, the duct that goes from those openings into the airbox. You can see that. But anyways, this is how the new 2024 CBR 650R looks. And I think it's been an improvement. Personally speaking, it's been an improvement over the previous model year. But anyways, let's go back there and take a look at the under the seat storage. See if there is an adequate space to put stuff in. All right, to open the seat back here, very typical, you just grab the key, put it under the tail, twist it. Once you have the rear released, you just pull it out. That's it. You have a pretty average amount of room down here, like most other super sport motorcycles. The problem here is you can't remove the front seat without tools. There are two bolts here and here that you have to unscrew to take that off. So even if there is more space under there, it's not going to be readily accessible, but at least you have this pretty deep rear area here to put some documentation. Now, in the pouch that goes in the trunk, you find two documents. You find the owner's manual, which this motorcycle actually shares its owner's manual with the CB650R, the naked version of this motorcycle. That just tells you how similar this motorcycle and the other one are to one another. But you also find what I believe the US mandates all motorcycle manufacturers to provide the customers some tips and tricks how to ride motorcycles. Here, this document is, I believe, even thicker. Oh no, yeah, a little bit even thicker than the owner's manual, just to tell you how to be a safe rider. So that's what you find in the back, the trunk, the pillion seat storage area. You also have Honda's toolbox, which is a nice addition. I don't think this is going to be probably the least used toolbox in the history of motorcycles. Hondas never break down. So here's a toolbox just in case it happens to you. In case you win the Honda lottery and you get a bad Honda, here's the toolbox to help you out. Now let's talk about the TFT screen on this motorcycle, which is an improvement over last year's LCD screen. It's just got a sharper image, better color popping here. Overall, an improvement. And you can manage a couple of items here. First of all, there's no shortage of information to be displayed here. It shows you how much gas you've got left, what mileage you have been doing, miles per gallon, how many miles you have till an empty tank. It shows you all kinds of diagnostics like any other modern bike would. A couple of things you can manage here. This button here, if you hold it, a light shows up on the left side of the screen, and that shows your torque control is now off. Torque control is Honda's way of saying traction control. You have traction control, you don't have levels to pick from, it's either on or off, and this button manages that. With the backlit joystick here, that's right, it's backlit, so at night you can actually easily find it and manipulate it. If you go to the settings on the screen, you can turn on and off the E-clutch. So if you don't like the computer changing gears for you, you can always revert to the traditional way of doing it. Just pull this clutch in and out, and then just shift your own gear. If you want the motorcycle to do that for you, you go into this menu, you go in there, and then it's on right now. You can turn the E-clutch off, and you can actually hear the servo turn on and off here. That's the E-clutch turning on and off. And then you can tell it how aggressively you want it to shift up and down for you. This menu is full of adjustments like that. You can adjust the brightness. You put it on auto, so it darkens and lightens, daylight, night light, stuff like that. And it shows you your blinker direction, left signal, right signal, typical stuff. Anyway, so that's the TFT screen on the new 2024 CBR 600R. Now let's talk about the equipment that Honda gives you on this motorcycle. That's where you are now seeing why this motorcycle costs $9,900 instead of like $12,000, $13,000, $14,000. They're not cheaping out on equipment to give you. Obviously, it's Honda. They're not going to give you bad stuff. They're just not giving you premium things here. For example, the front and rear brakes are both Nissin brand, which everyone knows for Japanese bikes, that's considered the kind of budget, more economic way of going for brake calipers. They work just fine for the capabilities and the weight of this motorcycle, which by the way is 466 pounds, a 10-ish pound increase compared to last year just because of the E-clutch. But anyways, you have Nissin brake pads, brake calipers front and rear, which stops this motorcycle just fine. As for the suspensions, you have Showa, both front and rear, and Showa is a premium brand actually, except the models used here are not the premium grade Showa. They're you know, mass-produced kind of, hey, we're Honda, you're Showa, let's make a huge contract, give us cheaper Showas for all of our CBR 650Rs kind of suspensions. The front ones are not adjustable in any shape or form. They just come the way they come. The rear shock is only preload adjustable. Nothing else is adjustable on it. But again, that's why this motorcycle is $9,900. Now, what about ergonomics on this motorcycle? After all, you're buying this to be a slightly more comfortable on than on something like a super sport bike. So how are you gonna look? This seat is 31.9 inches tall. So it's not a tall bike at all. In fact, I'm 5'7", 5'8"-ish. And if I sit on this bike, I can perfectly flat foot both of my feet down here. Now, if I put my foot up here and then reach for the handlebar, this is as much bent in my back as there's gonna be, just to be holding the bars. Not aggressive, but it's also not as upright as a naked bike would be. So again, we suspect that this is going to be just between the bike, perfectly between a naked bike and a super sport bike. And it sure is, because you still have a little bit of bend in your back, but not aggressive like a super sport bike. Anyways, that's how you look on the 2024 CBR 650R E-clutch. And with all of that out of the way, let's go and ride this motorcycle. But before we do that, a huge shout out to Everett PowerSports for allowing us to get our hands on this brand spanking new 0 miles on the odometer motorcycle. This is not a demo bike. This is not a Honda provided bike. This is literally the dealership's decision to allow us to go ride a brand new bike in their inventory so you guys can see how this bike operates out on the road. So a huge shout out to Everett PowerSport. Go check out their inventory. Their website will be in the description section of this video. Go check them out. They have always really good savings and sale going on some of the models they have when they get perhaps a year or two older. Go find a really good deal for yourself on their website. And with all of that, let's go and ride this motorcycle. All right, let's go. Okay, so hang on, let's try this again. So it's in neutral right now. I tap on the shift pedal. It's in first gear. I haven't touched the clutch. So now I assume if I twist this, I gotta go. Oh yeah, I move. Now, if I put it back in neutral and then hold the clutch in and then go first gear, see, now I can stall the bike because now it's in the traditional mode. Okay, cool. Okay, so now I'm not touching the clutch and now I can quick shift through gears. Okay, now let's see what happens if I see. Now it says downshift, downshift, downshift. Let's see if it will downshift for me. So see, I'm not doing anything and it's not stalling, you see? It's in third gear. I forgot to downshift, supposedly. I'm not holding in the clutch and I'm not stalling. Now if I downshift, what happens? See? It's holding the clutch for me right now. It's kind of complex at first to wrap one's mind around, but it's a combination of quick shifter, DCT, and a regular gear shift, all three in one. And you can, you know, turn it off if you entirely don't like it. Now I'm gonna tell you, if you turn it off, it doesn't 100% go back to being a normal motorcycle, because look at this. You see how loose this is? This never happens on a non-e-clutch equipped motorcycle. There is this much slack in it and only engages this last 1 inch. Oh, and I did this. Anyways, yeah, so seems like whenever the clutch is pulled, it goes back to a like a traditional gear changing situation, and there is a couple of seconds that you're gonna have to wait before it goes back to the regular e-clutch. This green light is ow, these hails are hitting me hard. That A is the automatic clutch engaged right now. Okay, this bike definitely does not have a shortage of torque. It really gets up to speed, up and running pretty quick. I gotta be careful, brand new tires and it's hailing, so. Okay, let's make a U-turn right here. I don't want to put too many miles on this bike. Okay, this is definitely much better than DCT, by the way. If I haven't mentioned that already, that's definitely how I'm feeling, at least. Wow, this is messed up, man. Why is it hailing? That green automatic clutch light keeps making me think I left my right turn signal on. Not a big deal, but it's a little annoying. I keep looking like, oh, is my right turn signal on? But no, it's okay, so when the light is extinguished, that means you are changing gears traditionally. When the light comes back on, that means that means right now you don't have to hold the clutch in to operate the motorcycle. You can just go up and down like that. Cool, good to know. Oh yeah, and is this whole new trend of putting the key way up here, like actually way down here instead of somewhere up here, they put it on the gas tank. I don't know who started it, but actually one of the older ones, I remember what is the naked motorcycle from MV Agusta? Brutali. That one, a 2006 that I reviewed, or some old one that I reviewed, had the key up here. I wonder if they started this whole thing with the key on the tank situation. But anyways, this one has it too, and the Ninja 650 that I rode had it too. Most of them have the key right up there on the tank. Yeah, overall, I mean, it's hard to decide between this one and the Ninja 650 from Kawasaki. They are drastically different in the engine department, obviously. Not so much different anywhere else. Ergonomics is almost the same. Width of the motorcycle is almost the same. The way the bike looks overall is the same. And I think the warranties are the same. There's so many similarities between the two of them. It really comes down to, do you have a dealership, Kawasaki dealership near your house? Do you have a Honda dealership near your house? That would personally tip the balance for me. But before we even get there, engine-wise, they're very different, obviously. Four-cylinder, inline four-cylinder on this one versus the parallel twin on the Ninja 650, so. Oh, actually this goes to the showroom floor, not the service department. Anyways, let's go back to Everett PowerSports, and again, I really appreciate them giving us this motorcycle to review. And now onto the ME score for the 2024 CBR 650R E-Clutch ABS. In the commuter category, you get LED lights to see better and to be better seen, a new and innovative clutch system that makes commuting even easier, a TFT screen for maximum data display and easy readability, and ABS for those unexpected and sudden break-ins. The bike has little storage under the passenger seat, which is expected of a bike in this category. I do find the lack of commute amenities a bit disappointing. Stuff like heated grips, cruise control, and ride modes like rain versus street versus race should at this point be standard on all street-oriented bikes. Now, there are OEM heated grips and all kinds of storage bags you can get from Honda's website for this motorcycle, but wish Honda had included them since this bike is indeed more expensive than all other Japanese sport bikes. Speaking of pricing, the CBR is about $1,000 more expensive than the Ninja 650, $800 more expensive than the Yamaha R7, and about $200 more expensive than the Suzuki GSX 8R. The bike gets roughly 40 miles per gallon, which is similar to many other sport bikes. As for reliability and parts and labor availability, no other manufacturer can beat Honda, which is what you want when you want to commute on a motorcycle. The CBR 650R E-Clutch earns a 15 out of 20 in the commuter category. Now onto the performance/dope factor category. The 650R has traction control and that's it. No other track-specific features. No racing ergonomics, no race riding modes, no cornering assist, no adjustable engine brake control, no steering bar damper, no launch control, nothing. It weighs 466 pounds, which is considered pretty heavy when it comes to a 650cc sport bike. That is roughly 60 pounds heavier than the Ninja 650, 50 pounds heavier than the Yamaha R7, and about 20 pounds heavier than the Suzuki GSX 8R. It's got roughly 85 horsepower at the rear wheel and 46 foot-pounds of torque. As for the design choices and marketplace, it feels very premium, more so than the Ninja 650. Fit and finish is great on the bike. There's only one color available, which is the only downside here, and it's this Grand Prix Red, and you better like it. The CBR 650 gets a 9 out of 20 for the overall performance and dope factor category, and it sits here on the list of other sport bikes I have reviewed. Honda has definitely been very innovative in the transmission industry, and they know what transmission should go into what type of motorcycle. For their high-performance track machines, they leave the transmission alone and give you the traditional clutch-operated 6-speed gear. For their long-haul tourers like the Goldwing, they give you the DCT so that you completely tune out the gear shifting process and have the bike do the job for you. And for their street models, like the one you just saw in this video, they give you something in between, the E-Clutch, where you can choose to have the bike do the gear shifting for you, or you can do it yourself. Now I understand price-wise, this Honda is more expensive than the other Japanese rivals in this segment, but this money you're paying up front guarantees huge money savings down the road because, well, it's a Honda.